Yeah. Family, y'all. Just keep it tight, keep it tight, keep it tight. Oh, right. Yeah. Here we go. That's right.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Jamie Mathias, pastor of Holy Family Catholic Church in Austin, Texas. Imagine a world without guns or bullets. As Americans, we have a constitutional right to bear arms so as to protect ourselves, so it may be difficult for us to imagine what it would be like to live in a world without guns. But think about it for a moment. Jesus didn't own a gun, nor did any Christian during the first millennium. Gunpowder, as you may know, was invented by the Chinese in the 11th century. And so what did people of the ancient world use to protect themselves? They used weapons like swords or spears or bows and arrows. These are the types of weapons that are mentioned in the Bible. In fact, the word sword is mentioned in the Bible 483 times. One of my favorite passages in the Bible talks about weapons. Which passage is it? It's Psalm 127, verses 4 and 5. The psalmist says that our children are like arrows in the quiver of a warrior. The passage continues saying that those who have their quiver full of these arrows, that those who have many children are happy. Think about it for a moment. Are arrows made to stay in the quiver forever? Are warriors expected to always hold on to their arrows and to never let them go? Quite the contrary. Arrows are made to fly, to be launched forth. And that's how our children are. We hold them close in our quiver for some 18 years, but then it's time to let them fly. Last Sunday we celebrated our graduation Mass. Since then, I've attended 15 graduation ceremonies for more than 4,400 students who graduated from our public schools here in Austin. Graduations really are bittersweet moments. We're happy and excited to celebrate the accomplishments of our children, but we're also aware that they're adults and that they've graduated from high school and that it's time for them to fly. We realize that they may not be in our quiver close to us forever. How sad. One of the toughest challenges of being a parent, I'm told, is letting go. After 18 years of loving our children and holding them close, we have to let go. In order for them to be the people that God created them to be, we have to let go. In order for them to feel the freedom to follow their call in life, we have to let go. I often joke that I come from the cornfields of Ohio to the corn tortillas of Texas. My parents still live in Ohio, so imagine for a moment that my parents never let me go, and that they didn't let me fly. Would I be here in Texas today? Not likely. In today's second reading, St. Paul talks about traveling to Arabia and Damascus and then Jerusalem. He talks about meeting Peter and Jesus' brother James, and he talks about sharing with others the gospel that he had received from Christ. Would he have been able to do all these things had his mother never let go? Had she never let him fly? Not likely. And imagine Mary, the mother of Jesus. How different the world would have been had she not shared her son with us, had she held him so close to her always, had she kept him like an arrow in her quiver. Certainly we wouldn't have found Jesus in today's gospel. In today's gospel, Jesus finds himself in a town called Nain. Jesus is traveling all over Judea, spreading the gospel message. Yes, like an arrow in the hand of a warrior, he was once held close by his parents, but now as an adult, he was following his calling and being the person he felt he was called to be by God. And whom did Jesus meet in the town of Nain? A widow. We all know what a widow is, right? A widow is a woman who has lost her husband to death. So this woman's husband had died, and after her husband's death, she would have been destitute, except for the fact that she had a son who sustained her. But now what had happened to her son? He, too, was dead. In today's gospel, Jesus comes across the funeral procession of this young man. There were likely professional mourners and dirge singers singing and crying in the streets, and it had to have been a grim moment. We can imagine that the young man's mother was absolutely inconsolable. She too was grieving, and she was holding on to her son as the one who would care for her and provide for her. And now she was challenged to let go. And isn't that how life is? We're challenged to let go of our children when they grow up and become adults, but we're also challenged to let go of our children when we lose them in death. In fact, we're challenged to let go of all our loved ones, all our family members and friends, our acquaintances and coworkers and neighbors. Look at those people on your left and on your right, all those people that you know. If you don't precede them in death, you will lose them all one by one. It's natural. It's part of who we are as human beings. As I celebrated all those graduations this week, I called to mind many of my childhood teachers, including my sophomore English teacher, David Udo. As a 15-year-old sophomore in Mr. Udo's class, I discovered William Cullen Bryant and his poem Thanatopsis. I remember the chill that went down my spine at the truth of Bryant's words, that we all shudder and grow sick at heart at the thought of the breathless and darkness and the narrow house which will one day be our own coffin. And no matter how great we were on this earth, we all lie down in death with patriarchs of the infant world, with kings and with the powerful of the earth, the wise, the good. We're called to let go of those we held most dear in death. I suspect the widow in today's gospel was not ready to let go of her son. Fortunately, though, Jesus stepped into the story, raising her son from the dead and turning her weeping into rejoicing, her mourning into dancing. Imagine the joy of that widow when she welcomed her son back from the dead. Imagine the joy of the people when they saw the scriptures fulfilled in their midst. Imagine them singing with the psalmist, "O Lord, you have brought me up from the netherworld. You preserved me from among those going down into the grave." Yes, these people knew that a great prophet was in their midst. Today's first reading contains the story of another great prophet, Elijah. Some 860 years before Jesus, Elijah too came across the widow whose son had died. And like Jesus, Elijah raised the young man from the dead. For those of us who know family members and friends at death's door, wouldn't it be great if Jesus or Elijah were to step in and make them well? Wouldn't it be great if Jesus or Elijah stepped in and restored them to life and health? Unfortunately, though, real-life stories don't always turn out that way. And we find the people and things that we love slipping through our fingers and eluding our grasp. We find them flying from the nest or being released from our grasp like the arrow on the bowstring, and they never come back. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, that's how those things are. Our children, our parents, our family members and friends, our health, our jobs and riches, our possessions. We don't hold on to them forever. We can't. Our readings today call to mind the stark reality of death. While we enjoy life and health, may we thank God for the many gifts we hold in our hands. And when the day arrives when we are no longer able to hold on to those things, may we have the strength to let go and to place them in God's hands.
We